What's up, guys? This is Xander Monge podcast. My name is Xander Monge. This is Iman Izoli. Iman is 20 years old. She goes to UMass Boston. She majors in environmental studies and women, gender, and sexuality studies.
There you go. That's me.
When Iman grows up, she wants to grow up to be...
A farmer.
She wants to be a farmer. Is that actually what you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, since
She wants to be
kindergarten.
a farmer since kindergarten. Today, we're going to be talking about farming. You hear the word farming. And I'm guessing that you think of like something differently than like what like the normal people would think when they think farming.
Probably.
I'm not gonna lie. When I think farming, I think of like, and I might be right. I think of like a bunch of cows in a field, or like corn.
All right.
right?
I mean.
But that's what. But we're gonna talk about like breaking down farming from the perspective of someone who's actually like been in it since. What age did you just say?
Well, I've wanted to be a farmer since I was 5. I recently like had my full blown farming experience this summer, but I've been doing like farming activities my entire life.
Now, my first question is, if I were to say like, are you a farmer? Would you just say yes? Or would your answer kind of be differently and get into something more specific? And I can give you an example of what I mean by that if you want.
Yeah, give me an example.
So, for example, like if someone came up to me and they were like, are you a filmmaker? I'd be like, sure. And like, you look at me and you're like, yeah, he's a filmmaker. But like, I would be like, I mean, realistically, like I'm a producer. Like I like build a team like that can achieve like a certain piece of content.
Right.
So if I say, are you a farmer? Would you say yes? Or what would you do to explain like what you actually are and like what you do?
Well, honestly, at 20, I would say no. I'd say I love farming. I've been a part of like the farming experience, but I wouldn't consider myself a farmer. There are a lot of different things that I like to do and a lot of like interests I have, and just because that's my end goal doesn't mean that's my current like setting. I'd say I want to be a farmer. Like I wish that was my title. I wish I could like write that in my Instagram bio. I'm a farmer. But no, I'd say I'm someone who loves nature, and I love being around farm animals, and I love getting my hands dirty, literally in the dirt, and like gardening and all that stuff. But no, not yet. Not a farmer yet.
When you just mentioned like you like stuff that like you like getting in there, like you like being around these animals, you like getting your hands dirty, you like this hands-on work. When you were growing up, did that differentiate you from other people that you were growing up alongside?
Oh yeah. Even within my family, I was always the hands-on daughter, the hands-on sibling. My dad, for some reason, I was like the chosen one. Like we never had real heat in my house. We still don't have real heat in my house. So we had like a wood stove or a pellet stove. And my dad used to take me out, and he had this big wood chopper thing, and he'd like teach me how to chop the wood and bring the wood inside. And like that's kind of where it started, was like being outside with him and doing yard work and stuff. And then the school that I went to actually got flooded, and we had like these little eggs. And my mom literally swam through this flood, saved the eggs that were in the incubator, and brought them home. And we kept those chickens. Like they hatched.
Wait, how
and
tall
we kept
was the
them.
flood? Like where you have to swim through it?
It was. I think this
like
was
deep,
like 2000.
deep?
It was really deep. It was like 2000.
Oh, the one that like flooded the mall, like Warwick Mall.
Yes, that one.
Wasn't there like fish swimming in the mall?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was a crazy, crazy flood. I remember there were like frogs and fish in the school, and like all of them were just set free. And so my mom swam through and saved these eggs, and we brought the eggs home. And yeah, we kept them, and I took care of them.
So do you think that like the main thing that led to kind of you wanting to do this was like your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom's always loved gardening too. I've always had like a green thumb, and yeah, I don't know. Most of my friends too, even currently, like can't really do things that I can do.
Probably.
And not to sound cocky or anything like that, but like in terms of like housework or like
or they just
hands-on
don't
like
want
construction,
to.
or they don't feel like it, and those are the types of things like I love to do. Like I remember when I was going to the farm this summer, and I told all of my friends. Some of them were supportive, but other ones were like, "Why would you ever want to work on a farm?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah,
crazy."
That's like my dad said the same thing. Like he wanted to work on a farm in the summer, and my mom judged him.
Yeah, people don't really understand. Like, for those people who do love farming, other people just don't get it at all because it's really weird. I mean,
Yeah.
I was walking in cow poop all the time. Like,
what types of like farmers are there? Like, what do you do when you're a farmer? Is it everything?
I mean, from the farmers that I met, they basically know how to do everything, and then based on like all of those skills and trades they've learned through doing all of that stuff, and most farmers have like grown up farmers. They don't just start in the middle of their lifetime. But based on those like different things that they learn or do, they'd get to choose basically what they want or what's financially like sustainable and whatnot. So the farm that I worked on was a meat farm. So we had a bunch of cows. There was a family living on the farm as well who did a lot of gardening and vegetable types of things. So I helped out with that, but it was mainly just cow farming. There's so many types of farming though. Like there's hay farming, there's corn farming, there's like cows, literally everything. But most people have like a specific area of focus.
Do you have like a specific, at this point in your life, do you have like the specific area that you know you would want to go into? Your niche?
Not yet. I can say from working on a beef farm that I don't want to do beef farming. At one point in time, right before I was going to college, I thought about having like a psychiatry practice on a farm and doing like animal therapy and such. I'm not one to want to kill the animals that I want to have. Like I love animals, so it would probably be it would be something like vegetable gardening. I've also thought about, not to be explicit, but the marijuana business.
Yeah,
because that's like a lot of money. A lot of money's going into that now.
What didn't you like about like the one you farmed at? Not that you didn't like it, but what made you know that that's not what you wanted to go into?
Well, as someone who was only there for a month, I built so many connections to all of the cows there. And it was amazing. I mean, the farm that I worked at was really, really amazing compared to other farms that I've visited or in the area. And the types of relationships that they would build with these cows, like they did like voice commands. They were kind of like dogs in a way. like you told them to come here, they were coming here. Like it was really, really cool. And some of them were nicer than others, and some of them like to be cuddled and pet, and some of them like to be ridden. And like you build these connections, and then you have to decide which one goes, and that's like really, really tough. And like then the head comes back, and then you see their head, and it's like
they give you. What do you mean the head comes back? They give you the head.
Yeah, they give you the head back. I mean, like the people, there was no slaughterhouse on the farm because they didn't want to involve themselves in that.
Yeah.
But like you go to the slaughterhouse and you pick up all the beef and they give you the head back if you want it, and you let it rot and you sell the.
Oh, I see. So these people, they were selling like the meat to the consumer. They weren't selling like the actual animals to the supply to the.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So they did like everything except.
They did everything except for the actual process.
Yeah. How do you pick which one?
That's a good question. That's something I questioned when I was first there, but it's based on sustainability. It's which cows are producing the best cows that you want to keep. So, I mean, there were a few of them where the owners of the farm, they just really had like strong bonds with these cows, so they were never going to send them off. But then other ones like gave birth to awful kids. Like they weren't listening. They wouldn't follow the lead with like all the other cows. Like it's really like a weird concept to think about, but like if they were too small, if one mom, I remember Murray's mom actually was sent away because Murray was like a crazy kid. He was crazy. He was like, he would crawl out of the electric fencing and he wouldn't even care about getting like electrocuted. And he would just walk around. He'd just chill around the farm. So they were like, Kelsey, who was his mom, was not producing great babies, so they sent her away once she was big enough.
How many kids does it take for them to realize like that it wasn't just like a one-time?
It's usually a few. It's usually like 3 or 4 from what I learned. But it's pretty obvious straight on, especially if the mom is also not cooperative herself.
Yeah.
So.
Damn.
I know, it really sucks.
What is being on that farm like consist of?
It was like it was a routine. It was a routine,
like,
and then
what's like the day in a life? If you should have done that vlog, by the way.
Like, I know.
I just thought like you 100% should have had that.
It was a day in the life.
Like
it was really
my cow was like morning routine. Video 1. My cow was like night routine. Yeah.
True. But a day in the life was like you wake up super early. Well, I was waking up super early.
Oh, you lived on the farm too?
Yeah,
Oh,
I lived there.
That's cool.
I was waking up super early. I would feed all the animals. We had a bunch of different animals. We had cows, horses, ducks, pigs. What else did we have? Chickens, goats, sheep, donkey. Anyways, so on and so forth. So you feed all of them. And then I paid a lot of attention to fencing and keeping like the animals contained. So I was learning about making sure that the electricity was always running. There was like a shock tester and like a bunch of different things that you would do on a day-to-day basis just to make sure that everything was functioning. And then you would like transport cows. You would be moving cows constantly. And we had multiple separate pastures because they were grass-fed cows. And so eventually once one pasture's grass was just completely eaten up, you'd have to like figure out which pasture you want to move them to. And then the process of moving them was always complicated because you had those cows who like didn't want to cooperate. And then there were like a bunch of things along the way that would like go wrong. Like a machine would break down, or you would be carrying the hay barrels and all of a sudden the tractor just like doesn't want to work. So you have to like figure out what you need to do like in those circumstances. And a lot of the time the owners weren't there, so I'd have to figure those things out myself. And it was fun, but it was super challenging because it was like dead of summer, super hot out on the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And I mean,
where was this, by the way?
This is in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was difficult, but it was a lot of fun, and that's the type of thing that I like to do that like a lot of people would literally want to die before doing.
What's like so you mentioned like there's like these cows that like or animals that don't cooperate. What's the benefit of like them? And it sounds like an obvious question, but what's the benefits of them cooperating? What do you get out of that?
Well, the way you raise an animal basically dictates like what their life is going to be like. It's just like humans. I mean, everybody's environment has an effect on like their lifestyle. And there are a lot of farmers out there who like settle for like abusing their animals or don't care about the life of their animals. Whereas like on this farm that I worked at, they really, really cared. And so they understood that to be able to like push all of that aside and not have to resort to any of that stuff, like their raising of the cows was super important to them. So like having a cooperative cow just meant that like your relationship with them was going to be strong. They'd always just cooperate. I mean, it is as simple as it can be.
What happens to the ones that cooperate? Is it the same?
They're just great animals.
You just keep them?
They're just like, well, no, I mean.
Well, like what comes about the ones that cooperate? Because you're saying that the ones that don't cooperate, like
the ones that don't cooperate are more likely to be sent first. Yeah. But again, like it's an ever-going cycle. You can't really just stop bringing cows to get killed because that's their way of life. Like that's how they're making their money. They're selling beef, and like to sell beef, they need cows and blah 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 blah. So they're constantly like raising and sending cows away. But the purpose of them cooperating is really just, it's kind of, I guess in a way you might want to call it selfish, but I don't think it's selfish personally. But like it's just so that you can have that bond with the animal. And then I guess it makes it all the more sad when you see them go. But like
so for someone who's like interested in like the same thing, like how did you get that position at the farm and like get the opportunity to like do work there? Like what was that process?
Honestly, I don't even know if I can give anybody advice for that because mine was complete luck, and honestly it seems like it was crazy how it worked out. But basically because of COVID, my family and I really wanted to get away and go do something. And we found this Airbnb in the middle of the mountains because the farm also has an Airbnb. Yeah. And we went there, and I was like mind blown. I was like, what? Like, this is my dream. And so I basically sat there and I begged this farm owner to let me stay. And the first time, she thought I was just like another one of those people who's like, I want to work on a farm. Yeah. Second time, same thing. Third time, like same thing. She kept like disregarding everything I was saying. Now I like was super persistent the entire time I was there. I was like, I want to work on this farm. And I had my mom talk to her and everything. And she was like, my daughter will do anything. Like, she will literally sell her soul to these animals because she loves them so much. Like, that's the type of person she is. And finally, she was like, okay, if you're serious, like, I'll give you a chance. And so it was pure luck for me. But
and do you think that, like, did you already like know the majority of like what you had to do there going into it?
No.
So
no, I
do you
had
think
no
that's
idea.
okay if someone was like trying to do the same thing and they like got in touch with like a farmer and like was talking to them? Do you think that there's anything that they need to like learn beforehand, or is them being willing to learn already good enough?
Well, my first piece of advice would be to make sure that you know what kind of farm you're getting into, to study and like to meet them and figure out what their practices are like. Because if you don't agree with their practices, then it's going to be really difficult working there. And so luckily for me, they were really all about the animals, and they wanted these animals to have like the best life they could possibly have, because it's, you know, our responsibility. If you're going to have them, you might as well like treat them like people.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about any of that stuff, I mean, go ahead willy-nilly, pick a farm. But if you do, that's something you should definitely look into. And then in terms of understanding what you need to do and all of the responsibilities you're going to have, you really need to want it, because it's not for everybody. And let me tell you, I had days where I was crying myself to sleep because of how exhausted I was. And my body was just drained, like emotionally, physically. And it was really, really hard. Like something would go wrong and I didn't know how to fix it, or I thought I wasn't like doing it the right way. And it was like really, really difficult for me. And there was even one point when I was like, I'm going home. Like, I'm not staying here anymore. And then I talked to the farm owner, and at the end of the day, I was like, no, this is my dream. Like, I can't just walk away from this. Like, this is something I really want. So if I can't do it for 1 month, like, how am I going to do it for the rest of my life? But yeah, just understanding your limits and making sure that you really, really, really want it and are willing to like work hard and respect the animals and respect your work is really important.
So what came about that, like, in the end? Like, are you going to go back at like season 2? Or like what ended up happening with that?
Well, I came back because my semester was starting. And I knew that if I was living on a farm, I had the option of staying. I knew that if I was living on a farm and trying to balance school, it would be farm. It would be farm. There would be no school. I don't know if there will be a season 2 at that farm specifically, but since I've been home, I have my own chicken coop. It's been really fun, actually, like doing the chicken coop thing, even though that's pretty low key. But I intend on at least implementing all of the things I've learned into like the future. Like, I've built a huge vegetable garden for my mom at home because she loves gardening and she physically can't because she has multiple sclerosis. So I was like, I'll do it for you, and basically started that. So I don't know if I'll go back to the farm specifically, but I'll definitely take everything that I've learned and use it in my day-to-day life. Like, there are a lot of skills that like I did not have before, and now I'm like willing to try new things, and physically I feel like I'm a lot stronger in terms of like what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to try. So
what's like the biggest thing you learned, kind of literally, and then the biggest thing you learned like mentally leaving there?
Literally, what did I learn?
Yeah, like what's like the best skill or like the most useful skill you think you learned there?
I learned a lot of I learned so much. I mean, you guys would probably more than I've learned in school, but
probably. Most likely.
I learned a lot about tools, a lot of different tools. I mean, not that I can like think of names at the top of my head, but like in terms of usage and stuff like that, like I'm a lot more handy now. Literally, I learned a lot about fencing and like all of the things that go into fencing and how like one leaf can ruin the entire fencing operation. I did a lot of weed whacking, which is so frustrating a lot of the time, but that was really great. And then in terms of like equipment and stuff, I learned to ride a bobcat. I rode a huge tractor. I know what.
That's so cool.
I know what I did. I think the coolest thing I've done is I've driven like a Ford, I think it was on the 350 with like a 40-foot bed attached to it, like all around New Hampshire to like transport, because we got a lot of food from the food bank for the cows. So we'd have to go pick those pallets up, and I was responsible for like driving these huge like long beds, and that was so scary at first, but I'm super chill about it now.
What about like mentally?
Mentally, like I said before, I think it's just not giving up, honestly. And I know that sounds super cliche, but there were so many times where I was like, this is not what I want to do anymore. And then I'm like, no, but this is what I want to do. So, I mean, if you have a goal and it's something that you've really worked hard for. It's something that you've thought about for your entire life. Like, don't just give up on it, because whether it's physically straining or emotionally straining, like if you really want it bad, it's going to end up great for you in the end. And I think that like my entire experience was incredibly wholesome, and it was probably one of the best summers I've had in my life. And yeah, so mentally, it's just don't give up. It's not worth it.
So transitioning, do you have like your own like land and like your own like animals and like farm and things like that?
Currently?
I know you do, but like, it's the question.
Well, like at home,
yeah,
at home we have not even a lot of land. Like the farm I was working on was like I think 30 or 40 acres, but I think we have like an acre of land at home. I've completely emptied out our shed, and I have like a chicken coop in there, and then I built like a fence for my chickens so that they can go outside because I wanted them to be free range. I have a dog, so that's pretty cool. I'm thinking of getting ducks, but I'm not sure yet. And then
can you do that like in Attleboro? Like you can just do all that, or is it like whatever?
We got in trouble for it at first, but then I got a permit and stuff, so it's fine. But then like vegetable gardening, I built like these huge beds. Unfortunately, we didn't really think about lighting, which is really, really dumb. But that whole operation kind of failed just because of the location that I put the bed. I made it more of like an aesthetic thing for my mom, but then we realized like your vegetables are not really going to do well right here. So next summer, I'm definitely going to have to move that. And then like a lot of yard work and like things that riding. My dad buys all these like machines and things for no reason at all. But now there's a reason because I know how to use them. So like tractors and stuff.
In terms of short-term goal and long-term goal, what would you say like both of them are, if you have one, or if you have them? I mean,
long-term goal, become a farmer. Short-term goal, graduate college. Like,
what are you doing to like achieve both those goals?
Well, for the farming, it's doing what I did this summer, constantly reminding myself of what I want and like making sure that I'm actively trying to do it, whether it's like small ways or big ways by working on a farm or like gardening at home. Short-term goal of graduating college, reminding myself that like this country, you need money to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And without a degree, it's really hard to make money. Which is really unfortunate because I hate school, but that's the motivation is money to an extent, in my opinion, buys happiness. And then after that, it's up to you, but you need some sort of stability. So that's my motivation for my short-term goal.
And then, do you have like a favorite or like a story when it comes to this topic of something that like stuck with you? Like something that happened and it really made you think like damn, or like wow, like that just happened, or something you'll never forget.
Yes. This is a pretty small one, but I mean, I've always been really great with animals, and for some reason animals always love me to an extent. But this cow on the farm, Murray, who would escape all the time, and like everybody hated him. Like he was one of these cows who like was not cooperative.
Like
troublemaker, like angsty teenager type of cow, like crazy boy. So he would like escape the fences and he would run away from people. Like he didn't like anybody. He would kick. He would headbutt with his little horns, super cute. And then I don't know how, but me, magical me, we built a connection and he just loved me. I mean, he would literally come up to me for cuddles and he wouldn't run away. And like I learned that his favorite food is carrots and stuff like that. And like I was like, man, if I could make this cow like me, who doesn't like the farmers who treat him super well, and like all of these people around here who really care about him but like can't stand him at the same time, like if he doesn't like them but he likes me, then I must have some sort of touch. So that's something that stuck with me because I love Murray. He's cute.
And then you bought him.
And then I bought him, and then I realized how big of a responsibility that was, and I realized I could not have him in Attleboro, and it was so unrealistic. But
where do you go? Like what ended up happening to him?
He's still at the farm, but I gave up ownership rights, and hopefully, I mean he's predicted to be a dwarf cow, so I don't think he would ever really be good for beef. So he'll probably just get sold to somebody because the cows are actually really expensive.
Yeah. Wait, how much did the cow cost? Like $3,000 or like more?
Well, no, my cow. I mean, I worked on the farm, so it was kind of like a deal, but cows can be really expensive, and depending on their breed and like what kind of that breed, like A dwarf Highlander, I'm pretty sure, can be around like $3,000, and people just buy them for pets, which is crazy to me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about farming, Xander?
My dad likes farming a lot, but
That's so cool.
And he wanted a job where he would go in the summer to do something similar to that, but he didn't want to go through. It's difficult when you're going through, you have a job that pays a lot. My dad makes a lot of money, and then you're kind of going and he's also he wears a suit to work and that kind of thing,
right?
And that's who he knows.
Sure, yeah.
So for him, at least, it's difficult to go that, a different direction.
Right.
Even though I know that's what he likes more.
Right.
So I would just say you already know too. So it's not worth doing something that you think people would respect more or like more.
Absolutely.
Because that's what he you can tell he would rather be farming.
Yeah. Especially as a Middle Eastern, and unfortunately farmers are low of the low. Yeah. But when I told my family, and I was super enthusiastic about it, when I told most of my family members, my immediate family was supportive, but my distant relatives, when I said I wanted to go work on a farm, they literally looked at me like I was
yeah, they're what?
It was judgment and disgust, and why would you ever stoop so low to go work in cow poop and dirt and whatever. And meanwhile I was yeah.
How'd you get through that people's
I just don't
opinion
I
on
didn't
it?
care. I was
how? Because that's easier. I do that too, but it's easier said than done.
Well, back to
how'd you do that?
Back to my goals. I'm going to college not because I really, really love university and I love going to college, but I'm going to college because if I don't, I know I won't really succeed and I won't make the money to do what I want to do one day, but I'm going to prove them wrong. Yeah. And I intend on owning a farm, and I intend on being successful at the same time, because I truly believe that stereotype about farming and the lack of success and the grossness of it and the boringness and all of that stuff, it's not true if you really love it. So in terms of my family, I mean, they're immigrants. They say a lot of things that stem from judgment. So I kind of have to just let it go at some point. And I've dealt with that all my life. So same. I've gotten used to it. Yeah, I've gotten used to it.
So you would say would your advice be to have a goal?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Something very know your goal so that nothing gets in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Know your goal and understand that, like I said, money buys happiness to a certain extent, but once you have enough money to at least be stable, it's up to you really to decide what actually makes you happy. And if you don't know what that is, then figure it out. I mean, how do you figure it out? Try different things. I'm a big believer in trying different things. Yeah. And as someone who didn't really grow up privileged, and I wasn't able to try a lot of things skiing or I don't know, a lot of elite sports or things like that, or music or dance or anything like that, do it in your house. I till this day, I'm I would love to be a singer. I know it's unrealistic, but I still jam out to karaoke when I'm alone. I brought my TV over to I brought my TV to the apartment, and we went on YouTube, and I was oh God, they're gonna see my search history and it's all karaoke. But yeah, try different things, and honestly, more opportunities out there than when I was in high school. I think you're slowly getting there, and I mean, it's hard, even as someone who has a little bit of privilege and then didn't have privilege at the same time. All of my white friends were always skiing, and I've never been skiing my entire life. And hopefully this summer, I mean, this winter will be my first time skiing, but that's only because I'm making it happen. I worked my ass off in college. I'm trying to save money, things that I want to do. You kind of just have to get them done yourself if no one else is handing them to you on a silver platter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I say that all the time. How are you supposed to know you like spaghetti if all you try is tuna? Right. You're supposed to try different foods and stuff like that, and you're supposed to try different stuff. Also, that's the weird thing about having immigrant parents. You have you're an immigrant, so you have that. Mm-hmm. But you also feel privileged because you're first generation. Mm-hmm. It's it's a weird,
it's a
weird
really
thing.
Difficult.
But anyways, this is the Xander Monch podcast. This is Iman Izoli. Thanks for watching, and like I say in all of them, The topic is farming, but you're seeing like a lot of themes of like passion, goals, and like kind of muting your like ears from people's judgment to like reach what makes you happy. And all that can be applied to anything basically. So yeah, is there anything you want to say? Any last thing you want to say?
Smile. I'm a big believer that smiles can actually make you happy. And I know that's so corny to say, but I'm serious. I smile all the time. And even though I'm like hashtag depressed, it makes me happy sometimes. So smile, guys.
All right.
Bye.
That was good.
Thanks. Yay. That was so fun.